Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Blacklogic. In the past couple of days, I did a discussion with Stephen Gardner. You guys may be familiar with him, a good buddy of mine nonetheless. We had a really good discussion. The heart of it was mostly about immigration, but I believe there's some things that I would like you guys to hear. So here's my offering of the interview, or rather discussion, that me and Stephen Gardner has had.
Ground at the southern border. He is also beefing up what's going on with the Coast Guard and the Navy in an attempt to keep his promise to protect the American border. To help me go through this, I have Ray Ross. Ray, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Stephen.
So just some background. Ray has a YouTube channel, Blacklogic, where he covers the news from his perspective. I'll put a direct link down below so that people can easily find that. He's also a military veteran. What are your thoughts, Ray, on President Trump ordering U.S. military to the border? As of right now, it looks like 1,500 men and women in military. They're not there to shoot guns or do anything. It's just literally to beef up Border Patrol. What are your thoughts on those actions?
I'm excited. I'm very, very excited that he is actually fulfilling a lot of promises early on. I've been stating this from previous presidents that they have the power of executive order, and the only branch of our government that can shoot that down is the Supreme Court. So if things are lawfully within the confines of the Constitution, then he is lawfully making these orders to secure America. There is an invasion in America, however, so slightly. And the previous administration knew about this. They even had loopholes and gaps. Some people call them open border laws that has allowed illegal immigration to affect our country. That has, in some parts of the liberal camps, as we say, they have allowed violence from immigration to say that it's separated of American violence. Like, oh, Americans commit crimes as well. Yes, they do. And they say that majority of illegal immigrants do not commit crimes. Well, they committed a crime when they trespass into another country knowingly, and a lot of them do know this, because there is, in some places, there's a wall. Donald Trump was going to fulfill the border wall, but of course, because President Biden's pettiness, he came in and sold the rest of the wall to steel companies. But I'm glad that he's enacted multiple executive orders to secure the border. I remember when Joe Biden, as well as the so-called border czar, Kamala Harris, was stating that illegal immigrants don't cause crime in America at the same rate Americans do, to justify them being in America, rather than upholding the Constitution and securing our border by allowing Greg Abbott to secure his own state, because a majority of them were coming through Texas, but there were still ones that came through Arizona, California, a lot of those border states, but majority through Texas, large caravans. And Governor Greg Abbott tried to put water flotation devices to deter them from crossing the river. He also tried to put concertina wire to deter them from crossing, but none of that stopped them. And the Democrats tried to sue him. They tried to sue him for doing that to protecting Texas, because he were harming people, or potentially harming people, that was coming illegally inside the country. It's asinine. It's absolutely crazy. So yeah, I'm excited that he's doing the right thing by securing the American border.
Yeah, I agree. One of the things that's been really difficult for me to cover over the last 4 years was just knowing how many children and women are being violated as they try to come up into the country. Last week, Governor Kristi Noem, who will be the new head of the Department of Homeland Security,
right,
she was asked, what are you going to do about the 1,000 families that Donald Trump separated last time? And she said, I'm more worried about the missing 350,000 children. And the senator says, let's not worry about the past, but what about those 1,000 people? Like, dude, that is in the past. He hasn't been president for 4 years. I mean, it's just disgusting to me that they know there's 350,000 missing children. You're a father, I'm a father. I would lose my mind if my child went missing. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, likewise, I will absolutely lose my mind if any of my sons became up missing. I wonder if this is a reflection of that movie that Hollywood really didn't give any attention to, The Sounds of Freedom. You recall that movie? I don't know if you watched that movie. Yeah, it was a very heartfelt movie about the child trafficking ring, whether it be sex or workers. But he was displaying how there's thousands of children that's being smothered and smothered into the from the Mexican border to America. And again, no one's paying attention to those things of how when you infuse and incentivize illegal immigration, you're going to have people to be encouraged to do these things to, again, these, what they call them, coyotes, to smuggle, okay, to smuggle children over the border for all sorts of heinous acts.
Yeah.
I just don't understand it. I just don't understand how we as people have allowed this. Like, why didn't we see through, these very sinister acts by the Democratic Party? Why didn't more Americans who were on the fence, oh, I'm not political, I'm not a Republican, I'm not a Democrat, why didn't we see that? Why didn't we vote against that prior to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris coming into office? Because we have an opportunity. We had an opportunity.
Well, I wonder if, specifically with the border, if they felt like, okay, Joe Biden was the vice president of Barack Obama. Barack Obama was pretty well known for being hard on the border. But he was just the opposite. He and Kamala allowed 15 million people to flood in. And then you have illegal immigrants getting better benefits than veterans, better benefits than senior citizens. For me, I was like, wow, what a slap in the face that, people that fought for our country or people that worked their entire career, paid into the American tax base, now are basically being shafted, while people who have been in the country for 5 minutes get more money and more government assistance than even a U.S. citizen. It just seems so backwards to me.
You raise a good point, because when you bring up veterans, of course, that's close and near to my heart, of how there's a lot of World War II veterans, not World War II, but Vietnam veterans, as well as Desert Storm veterans who are homeless. And we don't somehow have the capacity or within the state or federal budgets to house them. And a lot of them are stemming from PTSD. A lot of them have mental issues that, if assisted by government entities, can help them and live a better life. But no one's going out and doing the hard work. No one's going out to see a lot of our men and women who serve the country homeless and suffering from all sorts of mental instabilities. But no one's putting a funding to that. But if you're illegal, we'll get you an apartment, we'll get you a car, we'll get you a driver's license, and in some jurisdictions, you can even be a police officer. How are you going to police Americans and you're not American yourself? I don't know how we do it. I don't know how Americans, we have allowed this. I just don't know. And I'm looking at Tim Walz, who was going to be Kamala Harris VP. In the state of Minnesota, he has allowed illegal immigrants to obtain licensing, and that was state funded. It blows my mind, Stephen. I just don't know how we allow this to happen. And granted, people who voted for, even when Donald Trump was running the first time, some of them probably saw this coming into fruition, right? As some people say, a lot of these liberal laws, a lot of these so-called woke laws, and I try not to use the term woke because they kind of bastardize that term. It's missing match, but I do understand the new terminology and how they're using it. I do understand that. So I agree that we've allowed this country, in some regards, we the people have to take some accountability, especially those who voted Democrat, those who voted independent, and those, like myself, didn't care to vote at the time because I didn't see the significance in either side. Because let's be truthful, when is the last time we have seen truly a bipartisan government? Really? Each side tries to own the House, own the presidency, as well as the Senate. So again, I really would like to see a lot of other political pundits get on board with Donald Trump, just to see if we all could be unified. And I don't mean every single person. We're going to have some outliers. We're going to have some people to, I guess, try to keep the balance of power right, so to speak, where we're questioning certain things, as we should. We need people to be objective, right? Not always subjective. So hopefully we can see more people in line that the America First agenda will help Americans first rather than everyone else, as we have been doing.
Yeah. Well, I know one bipartisan bill that they would love to pass, and that's raises for members of Congress. But they just try to sneak that in bills when the rest of us are asleep. Okay, so border arrests are down 90% since President Trump took office. 1,500 military there. The border has been closed down by order from the president. During President Trump's presidential run, he was regularly called a racist. Now he's ordering ICE to go into parts of America that are predominantly Democrat and predominantly populated by people of color. Do you see it as a good thing that he's going in and saying, wait a minute, Chicago is being overrun? I'm hearing from people in Chicago, they're saying our black communities, they're taking over the YMCA, they're taking over our schools. We're now competing with them for wages, for apartments. What are your thoughts on him going into these top 10 Democrat cities? Have you ever wondered what happened to legendary Chuck Norris? I recently saw a video he made and I was shocked. He's in his 80s and still kicking butt, working out and staying active. What's even more shocking is he's stronger, can work out longer, and even has plenty of energy left over for his grandkids. He did this by making one change. He says he feels like he's in his 50s. His wife even started doing what he's doing, and she says she feels better. She says she feels 10 years younger. Her body looks leaner, and she has energy all day. Chuck made a special video that explains everything. Make sure you watch it by going to chuckdefense.com/SG or click the link below this video. It will change the way you think about your health. Once again, that's chuckdefense.com/SG. Click the link in the video description to watch the video. You won't believe how simple it is. Just a reminder, the legendary Chuck Norris is a whopping 84 years old, yet has more energy than me. He discovered he could create dramatic changes in his health, simply focusing on 3 things that sabotage your body as we age. Watch this method by clicking the link in the video description box down below, chuckdefense.com/SG.
Well, first, I think what's important is addressing the racist part. And a lot of people on both sides have called Donald Trump racist many a times before because of some of his actions stemming back from Central Park 5. Then I say, well, if Donald Trump is racist, is Joe Biden racist? Because we also have the 1994 crime bill that affected mostly the black community and majority of the men in mass incarceration, and even some defamatory, disrespectful remarks. He said, if you don't vote for me, then you're not black. I mean, a lot of these, in my opinion, was, boy, come over here and vote for your daddy. That's the way I took it, essentially. And so that's why, I was just trying to define or trying to find evidence of racism that Donald Trump has blatantly was racist against a black person. And a lot of people bring up a lot of his renting practices. But I said, since he's been president, this is his first term, the first 4 years, what legislation that he enacted, that he signed, that he approved, that he passed, that was racist against black people? And then you hear crickets. I said, okay. And I said, when you look at Joe Biden, he has signed legislation or forego legislation that has indirectly and now directly is hurting the black community. And that's when we bring ourselves to illegal immigration. Because you have a lot of people, especially in Chicago, who were Democrats, staunch Democrats, always Democrat down ballot, vote blue no matter who. Those people automatically saw the ramifications of a lot of those liberal laws that is now hurting them. And again, when you start to realize stuff, you're like, damn, I made a mistake. So there's groups in Chicago that they're turned red. I believe I linked up with, by the way of you, P. Ray, also known as Chicago Red. She has a large following of a lot of black Republicans who changed to MAGA who changed to be Republicans because they saw supporting the Democratic Party was destructive. And they felt the first effects of this because their cities and townships had been infiltrated by illegal immigrants. And not only that, a lot of these illegal immigrants were very violent against them. They've been having turf wars in Chicago with Venezuelan gangs, Tren de Aragua, all these other gangs that are either a gang or a cartel. But nonetheless, a lot of us, and I don't just mean, Black Americans, we're not a monolith. I don't speak for all of us, but a lot of us in general as American citizens, we got a wake up call when it came to illegal immigration. That made us start to look at, transgenderism. Why are men competing against women? Oh, well, he identifies as. It's been a lot of liberal mess. And I'm just glad that, Donald Trump came out and stated, we're going to support free speech. And there's only two genders in America. Now, whatever you identify as, go ahead, that's cool. But as far as America is recognizing, we have XY and XX chromosomes. That's it. I respect it. A lot of people may not like it, but you at least can respect it. See, this is my thing, and I'll end with this, Stephen, as far as this question is concerned, that people are mostly looking at Donald Trump, how he says things, how he articulates certain things, how he answers certain questions. I said, that's the problem with a lot of Americans. There are emotional voters. We're looking at the way he speaks. Can we look at his actions? Can we look at his legislation? Can you get behind some of those things? Do you see how it may benefit the country? Well, let's be more optimistic than pessimistic.
Yeah, I agree. Let me get your thoughts on this.
Sure.
I'm going to pull up the betting website Kalshi. They kind of became famous for being the first group approved for betting on the presidential race. They're now betting over there. Will Donald Trump release the JFK files this year? And people are betting that he is going to do that. He also talked about releasing data on RFK as well as Dr. Martin Luther King.
Okay.
Then I saw on Twitter, people are saying, well, when he releases information on Dr. Martin Luther King, they're going to find out that the FBI screwed him over just like they screwed Trump over. Any thoughts on what we might learn in JFK or MLK?
You know what, Stephen? I'm loving the government right now. I'm loving the transparency. I'm loving just the potential of the transparency we've been getting. A lot of things are being revealed. I would love to see the JFK files, to see what federal agencies may have been involved, who was behind this assassination. All those things are very fascinating. And those things should be privy to the public. And who knows what we may find out about MLK. Now, in the Black community, for a very long time, we've always thought that the FBI was behind this assassination and that they always had these straw mans that they put in place to do out their bidding. But again, some people may think that, oh, you guys think that the Republicans got MLK assassinated. No, we don't. We believe the good old party of the KKK, also known as the Dixiecrats, was behind that. So again, it would not be surprising that they were behind it in some form or fashion. But a lot of these things need to be revealed. And last year was a very good year where truth and transparency started to come out, whether it be from public figures as well as government figures. I'm just loving this time in this country right now, and I hope it continues because, again, we have been left in the dark for a very, very long time, and it took someone where people deemed him to be unpresidential to do some of the most presidential things.
Yeah. I'm liking the transparency. I mean, this is something you've been covering President Biden and Kamala Harris for 4 years, just like I have. They don't do press conferences very often. They don't take questions. As soon as they start asking questions, he bolts for the door. She bolts for the door. And there's Trump signing stuff while taking questions for hours and hours. He's already had more press conferences in 3 days than Joe Biden had in 90 days. One thing people said is that maybe he was too transparent being on Twitter in his first go round. But like him or hate him, he gives the media access, and I do believe that he wants to provide that. But I'll be very curious to see what the truth is about JFK, RFK, and
Absolutely.
MLK, because I would like to see what comes of that. Let me get your thoughts on this. President Trump said he plans to speak with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin put out a video that he congratulates Donald Trump and is eager to speak with him. Do you think that we will see an end to the Russia-Ukraine war this year?
Well, first, let me go back a couple of steps. You were talking about basically how busy Donald Trump has been. And I can respect a man's action before I can even respect a man. And I respect a lot of what Donald Trump has already done prior to taking the office. He was already talking with world leaders. He was already negotiating ceasefire in Gaza against Israel with Netanyahu and some of the Hamas leaders. He already spoke to President Putin a couple of times even before him taking office, as well as President Zelensky of Ukraine. So he has been very, very busy being influential even before taking the position of power. And since he's taken the position of power, the only thing he has been doing, he has been fulfilling promises. He has been fulfilling promises. So do I think that he has the influence and power to end the war against Ukraine and Russia? Absolutely. Nothing has shown me that he is going to double back or double speak or not fulfill a promise he made to the American people, because he knows that we're funding this war. We are already $200 billion funding Ukraine to fight against Russia. And again, as President Trump has said on many occasions, he has a good relationship with Vladimir Putin. And the Democrats are coming out, why could you don't? And he's the first president, by the way, that actually crossed the DEMS. He actually walked in North Korea, the first president to do that. He didn't see the big deal. Neither did I. I've been in North Korea, just across a little line. It's a little line. You cross it, then you're in North Korea, and then you come back. This one I was stationed over in Korea. But nonetheless, he's done a lot of things that other presidents just wouldn't do. Why wouldn't he have a great relationship with these world leaders? Because of times of war and conflict, he can easily have a conversation. How can we end this? There's millions of lives that are being lost. Billions of dollars of property being destroyed. All you beautiful places where you guys live is in shambles. How can we make a deal to get this stopped and get these things rebuilt so your people can start living a great life? And I think this is a good thing. I think what he's doing is very diplomatic and very, I know people are going to hate this, presidential. It's very presidential.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You remember during the Obama years when North Korea was threatening to attack Japan and America almost on a daily basis, and the only person that they could really get in was Dennis Rodman, the basketball player. And so they're like, okay, wait a minute, like diplomat Rodman is the one to go in, and everybody kind of praised him. But then when Obama is leaving, he tells Donald Trump, the biggest threat in the world right now is Kim Jong-un in North Korea. And Trump is like, well, instead of trying to start a war with him, why don't I try to start a relationship? Not that we have to be buddy-buddy and eat pancakes together or have a scotch or something, but could I at least get him to stop threatening to kill the world? And then when he does it, they just bash all over him. And when he says things like, Vladimir Putin and I have a relationship, but he's called him a hard person. He said that this war shouldn't have happened. He doesn't like all the death. But then when he tries to leverage a past relationship and friendship, suddenly he's a Russian asset that betrayed America. It makes no sense.
He's very critical of a lot of these world leaders, Kim Jong-il, as well as Putin, as well as Xi Jinping. He's very critical. You will see him shaking hands with them and tell you that we had a great conversation, but I'm still going to impose 10 to 25% tariffs. I'm still going to do that because America has not, been given a fair deal. We have not been given a fair deal. So even though he has these relationships, it's not that he's going soft with them. He's doing things as a businessman and avoiding war at all costs, which I would like to believe that a lot of Americans would agree. We don't want our soldiers, our Marines, our sailors, our Air Force men and women to go out into senseless wars that can be avoided by simple diplomatic conversations.
Yeah, I agree. Why? This is a hard one. I know it's hard to get in the mind of Joe Biden, especially where he's lost his mind. But you know, he kept saying things to the American people like, I don't have the authority to close the border. I don't have the authority to fix the border. But then he would spend almost all of his time on fixing the border of Ukraine, sending money to Ukraine. And then Trump comes in, closes the border, sends military, and nobody seems to question his authority as president. So do you think that Joe Biden was on purpose allowing this invasion?
Absolutely. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. There is no way you can have tens of thousands of people to enter a country and the president knows about it and states that there's nothing that he can do. There's nothing that he can do. He could have done something simple as deploying a third of the armed forces on the border for training exercises. Do you think people are going to come to the border when you're having a military training exercise? You could permanently station military troops that they will rotate every 3 to 6 months of just doing training exercises that will deter a lot of illegal immigrants from coming. They're like, there's soldiers on the border. Why would I try to enter the country legally? That would then motivate them to enter the country through the legal process. Again, that was just one idea out of millions of ideas that we can deter illegal immigration. And Joe Biden knew that. Yes, in my opinion, he blatantly allowed this to happen. Him and Kamala Harris. Yeah, both of the presidents, so you both get both of the benefits and you both get both of the blame. Yeah, they absolutely allowed this to happen. I think the big question is why. Yeah. And a lot of people may not agree with this, but I think we try to make the illegal immigrants the villains. They're partially the villains. I think the other villains of this are the business people, whether they be on the border or not, who are hiring, who are hiring illegal immigrants and not empowering and not informing and not hiring Americans. Again, because I always kind of give this example. If you were to hire John, you have to pay John anywhere from $12 to $15 an hour because of minimum wage. But if you have Julio, if you have someone from China, Z or X, this 3 different people from 3 different countries that are illegal inside of this country, you can just pay them $5 an hour. And so now you're getting 3 people for the paycheck of 1. So a lot of these businesses that have been hiring illegal immigrants, I'm surprised no one has spoken about them. Okay, that's important because again, if let's say I'm in Central America, I'm from Haiti, I'm from Eastern Asia or Eastern Europe, doesn't matter. But I come to America illegally because I'm seeking economic asylum, meaning I'm trying to find an opportunity in America. And I know all the liberal laws that they have supporting illegal immigration. Why not come to America? And then when I come to America, they're going to hook me up with someone who gives me a job. Why wouldn't I come? In my country, I'm poor, I'm destitute. Well, they're looking over the Americans there just to hire you immigrants. Well, I'm worried about me. And that's how I'm looking at it from an immigrant perspective. I'm looking at it from an immigrant perspective. Why would I care about you if your own country's not empowering you, but they're empowering me? I'm going to go and take that job. So again, illegal immigrants, they're part of the blame. And the businesses who hire them are another part of the blame. Because without the work, without them incentivizing illegal immigration, a lot of them wouldn't come because a lot of their compadres will go back to Central America and Haiti and Asia and say, well, the Americans are not hiring us. We're just over there being bums and, bag of Vance. We're on the streets. So again, that's the way I look at it, Stephen.
Yeah. When they started reporting that it was 12 million, 13 million, 15 million illegal immigrants, I started thinking, wait a minute, aren't there like around 30 million Black Americans?
It's around 43, 44 million.
Yes. Okay, so it's higher than I thought. So, okay, but still, if 15 million new people come in and you completely disregard a large population of Americans, that would infuriate me to no end.
Absolutely.
Do you think that maybe the border, the illegal immigration, all of the benefits they were getting in Chicago and New York. My gosh, $20,000 a month in free hotels, $10,000 a month in food
It's crazy.
stamps.
It's
You're
crazy.
telling me you couldn't take that money and go to a community and say, hey, we're going to put you into trade school, which costs $10,000, and you're going to come out a plumber making 70, 80 grand, contributing to the tax base, starting a business down the road. It's insane to me. It's insane to me.
I pitched the idea that all the money that was given to illegal immigration, and especially those, black folk that voted for the Democratic Party, I said, you see how they support them, but they don't support their voting base. We have been the sole source of the Democrats winning the presidency every single time. Whoever gets the black vote wins the presidency. And when we don't vote, the Republicans win. So my thing is, if the Republicans going to benefit Americans and that benefits us, then let's vote for the Republicans. Because here's the thing, I don't belong to any political party, but I have a very conservative mindset, working hard, doing good for self. And believe it or not, majority of black Americans have that. But when you have been put in a position to be subservient, I was just explaining this to my son, and some people may not agree with this ideology, but when you've been subservient, meaning that simultaneously as mass incarceration was occurring, the government ramped up its socialist programs with Section 8 as well as welfare, meaning that the men was not in the home to provide for the women with all these single babies. So we put them, which nowadays they say gentrification, but another sense of redlining, because we knew where Section 8 housing was going to be. We knew where all the money was going to be, and we're going to keep black people here. And we're going to keep them subservient. We're going to keep them on the pacifier of the government. We're going to continue to have them feed off the government. We're going to make sure Shaniqua and Lil Ray Ray, they're going to be in their little hood and ghettos, and we're going to make sure they stay in that place so they can never rise above and do for self. They will always be subservient, and if they're subservient, we have control. If that's control, then essentially we have them enslaved, because they will never want to do for self. You see what I'm saying? And that's the way I kind of look at it. But if you empower us like you have done illegal immigrants, you come inside of our neighborhoods, you fund community centers that do coding and do AI software, just like Jeff Bezos did. He went to DC and started a coding software program for DC inner city school, which is majority black. And that has been showing a lot of more black people in that area in tech. So again, a lot of times these resources and these benefits that illegal immigrants have been getting is this asinine that no one has ever done that for, people who, the other minorities and even white neighborhoods who are suffering economically. Again, how we are infusing and motivating and funding people who are illegal to the country and not those Americans who are already here. That's the next level of crazy. That's the next level of discrimination, far beyond my mind thought. I just can't even, again, I just get choked up. My apologies. But it makes me a little angry. It does makes me a little angry. I just can't understand it, because again, is this about money? Is this about exploration of people? What is this truly about? Why do they allow this to happen constantly? Even though black citizens, white citizens, Hispanic citizens, Asian citizens, American citizens have been crying out about illegal immigration even before they took office. Because Donald Trump did what he can do with the laws in place. I think he used Title 42 for as long as he could. And then from that, they pretty much put him in shackles where he can do anything with illegal immigration. Here come Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And they totally flip-flopped and reversed and opened up the border and say, come all. Yeah. That's what happened. But my apologies. That question kind of gives me a highlighted, Steve, but I think you know what you're doing.
Well, I do like to have a good conversation, but I believe I had more Black Americans on my show during the political season than any other white podcaster, and that was very purposeful. Number one, I like Black people, and number two, I know how important the voting base is.
Correct.
And I had somebody here in Utah say to me, "Who do you think is the most important voting base?" And I said, "I believe it's the Black community." And they said, "Really? Are you serious?" I said, "It's not because they're the largest block. It's because they're the tipping point. So if something's going this way and you add weight, you can literally get it to go which direction you want." And as you mentioned, the Democrat Party without Black Americans is dead. Without Black churches, dead. It's a dead party. I would love to see it be a dead party. And I love that we're a big tent group, and we need to be inviting, and we need to make sure that this isn't a one-time vote situation. But anyway, I just see how powerful of a voting bloc the Black community is. And I want other people to know that. But at the same time, like we've got to encourage and then treat well and then absorb those people into our party. But you do that by having good policy, by treating people well, by making sure that their community is doing well. If I was a Democrat and the people that I thought I could trust and vote for started flooding my community, I guarantee you we would just vote them right out.
Absolutely.
But that's what has to happen going forward, So that's why I love having you on to amplify your voice so that people can hear, wait a minute, here's how you're being screwed over. Here's why you should maybe be open-minded to walking away. Anyway, I just think a lot happened with this voting cycle. And like you said in the beginning, it's nice to see a politician keeping promises. I mean, right out of the gate.
Right out the gate.
Keeping so many promises. The question is, why are the Democrats being so quiet right now? Are they regrouping? Are they going to come back with vengeance? Do they have some kind of impeachment plan? Are they going to let him get through his first 100 days? I don't know. I haven't figured out why they're so quiet right now.
Well, first I'm going to back up, and I know a lot of people's question is, why do majority of Black folk vote Democrat? Prior to Lyndon B. Johnson signing the Civil Rights Act, majority of Black Americans voted Republican. And by Martin Luther King allegedly putting pressure on the LBJ administration, a lot of Black Americans then turned Democrat. And ever since then, we've been voting as a bloc, blue no matter who, not really looking at the policies, thinking that the Democrats were for the people and not just business persons or people who don't look at America as a multicultural nation. And we've been duped. We've been hoodwinked. We've been bamboozled. We've been tricked. We've been manipulated. And because now the Democrats don't do anything for any group except for themselves, it seems like. And we've been fear-mongered constantly into voting Democrat. And I'm glad that Donald Trump ran for president a second time. And I'm glad he won. Because this woke up a lot of people when he started to reveal a lot of things that have been going on inside of our country. Now, to your second point, can you repeat that last bit on your second point there?
Oh, I went off on such a rant. I think I was saying that I see the Black community as an important voting bloc.
Right.
Let's see. What else did I say? Let's see. The Russia-Ukraine war. No, that wasn't it. I don't remember. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I forgot what he was alluding to, but I wanted to speak on it. But as soon as I spoke about trying to go back again, I lost it.
Oh,
yeah,
that's okay.
I lost it.
Can Trump keep this momentum, or are the Democrats going to regroup and attack him? That's what it was.
They already have been. And the way they're going about this, they are attacking his executive orders. They have already attacked the birthright citizenship executive order, stating that it violates the 14th Amendment. They also are attacking his border policy, stating that it's against the Constitution, that we have immigration laws in place, and that he has violated them by signing a lot of these executive orders. So essentially, they're doing a soft attack. They're not like publicly coming out defaming his character, his person. They're kind of just doing things very behind the scenes, trying to sue or discredit a lot of his executive orders. Because again, day one, he signed executive orders, probably the most in U.S. president history. He signed the majority. Before that, it was Joe Biden. I think he signed in the first 10 days, I think Joe Biden signed anywhere from 8 to 12, if I'm not. Yeah, I believe anywhere between 8 to 12. And I think Donald Trump has done how many so far? Some people are stating that it's been like 100 or 200 executive orders. But from what I've read, he signed over 20 or 21 executive orders that had over 200 actions from them.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's where you are about too. Yeah, he signed roughly about 15 to 20 executive orders that equivalent to over 200 actions inside the government, inside the country.
Yeah, one of them reversed like 78 of Biden's border policy
Correct.
rules. So, but it was
Correct.
one executive order to undo 78 actions,
Right.
or something like that. I'm optimistic for the future. Of course, you know, this is not a perfect nation, but I believe it's you know, every year heading in a better direction. And only time will tell. It'll be interesting to cover Trump for the next 4 years.
It
You
will
know,
be.
he's got a lot to do. This border, the mass deportation, getting the economy going, wages up. Can he get rid of the IRS by bringing in the ERS? You know, there's a lot that has to be done. Ray, I want to thank you for coming on. I want to put a direct link to your show down below. I encourage people to go check it out. You bring really great information, I think twice a day. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
On weekends, once a day, and on weekdays, twice a day. Correct.
Okay. I'll put those direct links down below. Thank you so much for coming on. I love you, love your family, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you for having me, Steve.